welcome back to our series on the Enneagram. We're up to episode number 4. We have Ian back to talk to us today about Type 2s. So Ian, can you give us an overview of the Enneagram Type 2?
Yeah, well, 2's a feeling type. So there's 3 feeling types, and this is the first one we're going to be talking about. They're known as the helper or the carer. Words that often come up in relationship to 2's: caring, generous, empathetic, sincere, friendly, warm-hearted. So they're a generally warm, friendly, helpful type of person.
They sound delightful.
And they are.
So is it all as good as it sounds?
Well, there are some other aspects, other words that can describe them. People-pleasing, possessive, sentimental, flattering, and prideful.
Right, flattering.
Yes, you see, they desire to be liked, loved, or admired. So the best way to do that often for anybody is to put all your attention on the other person and their needs and be flattering, because that has the person immediately wanting to bond with you or like you.
Right, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what could be happening that would move all of those warm and fuzzy ones that you named first up to the more challenging side to it?
Well, as with every type, we have stress points and security points. So when we're stressed, we take on the unhealthy aspects of our one of our subtypes, and when we're in a secure, safe, healthy place, we take on the positive aspects of our other subtype. So for 2's, when they become stressed, they can suddenly become aggressive or dominating, like an unhealthy version of the type 8 personality, which is their stress point. So when they become happy and secure and everything's going well and they're up, they can also take on the positive aspects of their other subtype, which is type 4, which can have them taking care of their own emotional needs rather than the needs of others. And so they can then become more emotionally aware and nurturing to themselves.
So what could put a 2 into stress?
Well, anything that can bring up their fear. So the fear for a 2 is being unwanted, unworthy, not loved or not lovable. So that would put their fear level up. And in retrospect to that, what could cause them to move into a positive state, it's basically, again, it's the opposite. It's to feel loved, to feel needed, to feel wanted, to feel valued.
Well, I guess that need to be needed explains their title. Can you tell me anything else about the helper?
Yeah, well, the helper, the name really comes from the fact that they can be the most genuinely helpful type to other people. They can be so generous and helpful, even to the point of going out of their way to help others, and basically forgetting their own needs. Even to the point that they can believe that their viewpoint is the most important and most meaningful viewpoint that there actually is, across all of the personality types. The things that they're most interested in, of course, are the things that they seem to believe are the most important things in life. So these are family, friendships, and love and closeness, sharing, So these are the things that they are seen to do as an everyday occurrence.
So where would two find themselves most comfortable in kind of a work environment or life environment?
Oh, well, that's pretty easy because they are known as the helper, the carer. You'll find them in those sorts of roles. So, nanny, teacher, nurse, carer, 2ICs or a support person, personal assistants, midwives, or basically any role where they get the opportunity to care for the needs of others and basically help that person feel whole or feel loved or feel cared for, or even roles that can assist them getting a person to the top or getting them to be successful or reach greatness. And of course, the best role for a two, as far as job goes, would be a mother. They are natural mothers. They have all the natural caring attributes needed to raise a child.
Right. Okay. So not that other types can't do that in a very holistic, good way, but they do it in a very particular way. Their particular skills are very honed towards that support role. And let's face it, babies and children need a lot of support, right?
Yes, they do. And of course, that they are natural mothers, as we know, all types can be natural mothers. But the twos just naturally want to care for, want to love, be loved,
Mm.
and that creates the right environment.
So what about for men? Clearly, they're not going to be mothers. So how does it work with a man?
Well, again, the same process goes in regards to uh, uh, providing love, providing assistance, providing meeting the person's needs, whether it be a child or a person or a friend or a work colleague or somebody there in support too. Um, Again, the roles and the positions are often still the same, male or female. Um, they're often in that support role, 2IC or um, caring capacity. So they are a nurturing, caring type of person.
So can there be too much caring?
Oh, yes. Especially when it comes to children. Children do require love, support, care, and all those wonderful things. But sometimes the need to shelter them from the uh, the less desirable things of life. So um, can actually mean that they can overcare. They can tend to shelter and almost wrap them up in cotton wool um, because they want to do the best possible job of making them completely safe and completely loved and completely cared for. So let's keep all the horrible things away from them.
Well, I
So
guess
yeah,
that denies people an opportunity to face adversity and grow from that.
and that's true,
Mm.
especially even in a caring role where they're looking to help and care for people. Sometimes people actually need um, find their path, find their feet, um,
Make
to
mistakes,
make mistakes, to learn things, to
fall over.
overcome. Yeah, all those
Mm.
things. Of course, we're not saying people don't need to be cared for and don't need to be looked after and don't need to be helped. But sometimes helping can go a little bit to the point where you can deny the person the opportunity to do that for themselves.
And I guess that when you were talking about the different job roles that they can have or that they tend to do well at, a lot of their caring needs would be met in those environments. Would that have an effect on them when they come home? Or is it just something that's on all the time?
They seem to have an endless capacity for caring, and it seems to be a point to the point where we'll talk about this a little bit more, but um, they take care of other people's needs to the point where they actually can't see their own, and they don't take care of themselves. They can actually lose their own identity. They actually can have almost no sense of who they are and what they actually need for themselves.
I
The
can
self
see
nurturing.
that could really present a few problems, couldn't it?
It could.
So I guess that's where we find the value in understanding your Enneagram type then, because if you can understand your natural abilities, like what you're saying with the two and how helpful and great they are with supporting other people. However, you also mentioned that they can actually do it to excess and then cause themselves distress or issues. So knowing the type actually gives you an opportunity to take a look. So what are the things that they can do in order to protect themselves from that burnout or from overgiving or not knowing themselves, really, like what you said earlier on?
Well, that requires the same with every type. It requires a level of awareness and growth. So, growth for a two can be limited by their shadow side. And what I mean by shadow side is the pride, the self deception. So, the tendency to get over involved in the lives of other people. It could be said that it could even be spoken about in a way that could be described as even manipulating behavior. And I'll explain that a little. The doesn't sound like they are selfish people.
No, not at all.
No, but the thing is, they're trying, like everybody, to meet their own needs. Everybody's trying to meet their own needs, and their needs are to be loved, to be needed, to feel worth in the eyes of others. So that's the need they're trying to meet, and pride is the old saying, pride comes before a fall. Pride can actually get to the point where it's so driving. It's pride that they're feeding on.
So like an addiction.
Yeah, and it's the same for all the types. It's just different for all the types. But for the twos, it's pride. And
what exactly are they proud of?
well, I took the best care of this person, and I helped this person get what they needed. I helped my boss get to the top. I got my company to be the best performer. And it's that pride. It establishes them as having value. But the tricky part in that is they, like the other feeling types, the threes and the fours, have a trouble seeing their own inner value. And the twos are no different in that respect. But what they're looking for is they see the value in what they do for others rather than themselves being the value. It's what they're doing that's a value.
So what they're doing, not what they're being.
Exactly right. So and they are driven to find more and more opportunities to do this. They'll take care of the kids. They'll be at the school tuck shop and the soccer mum, and they'll part of the community.
Men's sheds.
Yes, and men's sheds, and they will take care of all of the things that need to be done that other people don't want to do. So there they are, insatiable helpers. And you see that in that they take pride, and in the pride they find their value. But the truth is, that's in what they're doing. It's not in themselves.
So I think you've just made me think that, again, understanding the Enneagram and understanding type in this way. So as a person in relationship with or friendship with a two, being able to spot when they're overgiving and making sure that they take care of themselves, because like you said, if it's that strong a drive, it might be hard to stop without being told, you're also important, or at least remind them that they are.
Yeah, and for two, the way for them to find that growth is to step away from their natural desire to please, to help, to assist, to take care of others' needs, and to actually work towards nurturing themselves. And the challenge in that for a two is, like I've said, the same, almost the same sort of challenge that for the 3 and the 4, which we're going to talk about in upcoming episodes, is handling those feelings of worthlessness. The feeling types struggle with the feelings that they have no inner value within themselves, and they do it in different ways. For the 2, it's because they feel their value is in what they can do for others, and as far as that goes, that's why that always gets put on top. That's always the thing that comes first. So everyone else's needs. So you ask them, can you do something for yourself? Can you do something for you, nurture you? And they would describe that as selfish.
I see. That's a really tricky spot for them to get into then, isn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned selfishness. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, they would believe that taking care of themselves would be selfish. And they are often described as being selfless or even altruistic. Um, uh, but when you look beyond the surface and look to their inner drives, what you're actually going to find is that they can be quite selfish in their desire to be loved, liked, or admired, and therefore feeding their own needs rather than those of others. But it's well disguised as selflessness and could be overlooked. One a word that comes to mind would be chameleon. You could look at 2 in many different environments, the same person in many different environments, and the people in those environments would often describe that person. And the other people say, that doesn't sound like the person that I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the simple reason that their focus is on those people's needs. And in this situation, they're focused on that people's needs.
Wow.
So
they lose their own identity.
So they
entirely.
lose their own identity to the point where they take on an identity that is required in that environment, and therefore become like a chameleon. They completely change what they look like, what they sound like, and in this environment, it's a different set of circumstances. So they can actually look like a completely different person.
Actually, it reminded me, Bryony Hannah, she's an actress. She was in Call the Midwife.
Mm-hmm.
She's a little thing and very meek and so warm and helpful, very much a 2 in the role, and I think in person as well. And then I saw her in another role completely, and it was unbelievable. So, to find a 2 as an actress,
Yeah,
I guess they'd have that extra skill of that.
In that
chameleon.
situation, it's even more so because they're required to respond to the environment they're in, and again, still fulfilling their own drives, which is to care for, to help, to seek love, and to be loved and to be valued. And yeah, it's quite the drive that is always there, and because the environment's changing, it's constantly changing.
Well, I think what you've been saying, the innate ability itself gives the 2, and I think we'll find that it'll apply to each type in a different way, but adds great value to the two in community and in families and in work environments, basically everywhere. They've got this innate skill that is very valuable. They have a um, very strong connection to what love looks like. Although, as you've pointed out, it can it can change in terms of health. It's not a healthy relationship with it after a while, but when it is healthy, having a well balanced two
Yep.
sounds like a real strength to have in a community.
Well, like all types, a healthy, balanced version of any type is a valued member of society
Yeah.
and useful no matter what type.
Mm.
The twos provide that wonderful caring role. The helper, they're helping people all the time.
And it doesn't cost them the same way as it does for other types to help.
Exactly. Now, for my type, I find that more of a challenge. So I can learn a lot from twos. How to be more helpful, how to be more caring. Where I have less access to the feeling types. Natural drives, because in my personality type, I don't have access to that as a subtype. So we'll talk about that more when we get to there.
That'll be a fun chat.
That'll be a fun one. But you mentioned the actress who is quite small and petite. And that's one of the other things that comes up with a lot of the personality types. A lot of the personality types have some physical characteristics. It's not 100% every time, but in a great percentage of people, especially when we're talking about twos today. So in a great percentage of twos, what you'll find is they won't tend to be large framed people. They won't generally be people who have large stature. They will generally be small and compact, and often with refined or fine features. Not always with fine features, but they are generally smaller framed individuals, more compact. And it's a common theme. You don't find many 6'2". So and with all the other types, we'll probably mention some things that we'll find with the physicalities. But there are some physicalities you'll find that can be quite consistent across the board with various types.
Well, I'll make sure to include a picture of Bryony Hannah as an example of the type of what you're talking about in terms of physical features and body type.
Because the visual is always good, and you get a feeling or an impression from looking at a picture or the visual that can give you a sense. You can almost when you look at anybody or a picture of somebody, you can actually get almost a sense of what type of person they might be. It's because what we're actually sensing is their personality type, because it is often portrayed in the physical structure as well.
Yeah, I actually find that quite fascinating about the Enneagram. And people say, "Oh, I've never heard of that," or "I don't know anything about that," but instinctively they do.
Yeah.
There are interactions where you can assume certain characteristics about a person based on their physical presence.
Yeah, and that's the same with not just the physicalities, but most of the types seem to have their own language. So the language of a type is often their use of certain words or the way they speak.
Come and sit down, chummy.
The energy that the words that they form carry, or the words they say carry. So they're in their language, it's not necessarily the words, and it sometimes is. It's the way the sentence comes across, the way it's delivered. It can have feeling, or it can have an absence of feeling. It can be very cognitive, or it can be almost like an instinctual. It's the languages, the different types make a difference. And
the language of the instinctual tends to be quite blunt, doesn't it?
It can sound blunt, but
yes.
The truth is it's uses are in areas that require that. And for the 2, if you were going to be looking at the differences between the 2 and the other feeling types, for instance, the 3s, their drives are different. So yeah, they would be looking. The words would be success, achievement, and around doing, in regards to getting somewhere.
We'll be going into that a lot more next week.
Yeah, and for the 4s, it would be, they have a depth that in emotional ways that some people have difficulty staying with, and they have a sense of the melancholy and everything else. But the 2s often come across as quite cheerful, sprightly, energetic, enthused, because they're trying to actually they're bubbly in a different way to the 3. It's in service. How can I help you? How can I meet your needs? Where the 3 is looking to create a sense of achievement for themselves, not for others.
Well, I think that about covers it when in regards to the 2s for the basic overview. Next time we are going to be delving further into the type 3, the second feeling type.
Yep.
And what can we expect there?
Oh, a very different energy. Again, it is a feeling type, but the feeling comes across in a slightly different way. And they've got their own strengths and their own struggles. But of course, they're different to the 2s, even though they're both feeling types. It's a very different picture.
Great.
Yeah, and that one's often fun and interesting. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll be back again next time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Well, I hope that was helpful and that you've now learned enough about type 2s. You may even be able to spot some people in your life that could be a type 2. And yeah, looking forward to our conversation next week about 3s. In the meantime, if you would like to have a look into all the different types, I have a couple of books on Amazon called The Healing Compass. It's a series with the first book talking about the nuts and bolts of all the different types, and also a few of the other elements that we bring into the framework that we use for working with people. And speaking of working with people, I wanted to mention that Ian provides a typing interview and service. I'm trying not to use the word service, but there you go. Where we basically, if you just send us an email, the email will be in the description below. We will send you then a questionnaire, and then that will be followed up by a typing interview. It takes between 15 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. And then you know what your type is. Therefore, it makes it a whole lot easier to navigate through the challenges that come specifically with that type. I personally have found it incredibly helpful to understand myself and to be able to grow in a very particular way that suits me and my type. So until next week, getting attacked by flies, we will see you then.